So you can see my screen, right? There we go.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you, Teresa, and good morning, everyone. Well, or good afternoon, depending where you are, or if you're Daryl Webster, it's good morning tomorrow. So thanks for joining me for hopefully a helpful collaboration session on task management. I tried to come up with a catchy phrase for it, and I was thinking about task avengers or getting stuff done, but ended up with a little bit of alliteration. Call it the functional funnel, because we have work come from us at us from many different directions, and trying to get that to come down to one place where we can manage it can be difficult. So hopefully I'm going to give you some hints today on how to do that. This is my first user group, Minnesota 365 user group presentation. I'm a little nervous. I woke up at about 5:30 nervous about it. I'm on my third cup of coffee. So I'm hoping I can slow down my normal pace. And if I'm going too fast, please don't hesitate to jump in and say, hey, slow down or back up. I think this is relatively interactive. Teresa, I'm sorry to call you off mute again, but are we going to take questions during, or we save them towards the end? How did Daryl's go?
Daryl's went well. We kind of do it as interactive.
Okay.
Interactive kind of works best because then if the question relates to what you just presented. So I'll tap you unless you want me to hold them till the end.
Oh, that's fine. You can tap me. And so I'm going to do part presentation, part demo. I'm hoping it's going to work. I'm switching between Windows, desktops. So we're going to see how that works. I've never done that during a presentation.
I love it. I love it.
So we'll see how that works. Okay. So just a recap on, well, to start off, who I am. My name is Jeff Bovee. I am a customer success manager at Microsoft. Been there a year. And what a customer success manager does, if you don't know, I have customers who I go out to and I don't sell anything. I am trying to help them get the most value out of the tools they already own. I'm specifically around modern work, so I specialize in Teams and collaboration apps, SharePoint, OneDrive, Power Platform, anything that can help you improve your workday, automate things, make collaboration easier. That's where my specialty area is. So I live in Woodbury, Minnesota with my family, my wife, my two kids, and our golden doodle, which I'm hoping is not going to freak out during this presentation, because I think we have a couple deliveries coming today and he usually loses his mind on the FedEx person. Been in IT for 25 years. It's been a long time, and done everything from desktop technology to infrastructure. And ultimately, I gravitated towards solving business needs and challenges with the technology that we have, right? And I like to do that personally too. I like to show my family and friends how to use OneNote. You can see some comments because I'm a OneNote fanatic. I've got a cape. I may break it out just for Amanda later on, Amanda and Carrie, because I know they're on. But I love to go out and solve business problems or real life problems with tools, and try to make it as easy as possible. Some reasonably amusing facts about me. I already told you I'm a OneNote freak and have a cape. After college, I decided to work on cruise ships for 2 years, which helped me overcome my fear of making a fool of myself in front of people, which I may do today, depending on how this goes. I love golf. Golf does not love me. I try to play as much as I can now. I have 5 golf courses around me here. And since we moved right around the same time as I started Microsoft, I'm hoping to get some more golf in this year. And I always love to put this in, and some people don't know if I should or not, but I love it because I am a martini connoisseur, and I make a very effective vodka martini, and you only really need one. And I will probably have one later on today after this, because I'm having a feeling I'm going to use all of my energy in this presentation. Alex Bartlett. All right. So I want to get some disclosures out of the way, and they should be obvious to you guys, especially if you've used Microsoft products before. We're going to start out just saying what I'm going to be presenting today is options for you with tools you should have access to. And they are my way of bringing in my tasks and managing my work. But I want to be clear that I am not giving you advice or recommendations from Microsoft, because if you go do it and it doesn't work for you, Microsoft has nothing to do with it. This is my personal opinion on how to do this. So getting Microsoft out of the play. Microsoft, as you know, or if you've used them for a while, you know that features, functions, layouts change. And I think that since I started building this deck in 2 weeks, some of the features slightly change. So if they look different, don't worry. Generally, these tools are fairly intuitive, so you'll figure out where the buttons went to if they move, okay? But for the most part, I think the majority of the things I'm going to show you today should be current. You may or may not have access to some of the tools mentioned today based on the licensing or what you've signed up for from Microsoft. And if you are a corporate user and have your tools at work, if you can't see some of these, you can go to your IT department and ask, is this something we have available to us? So if you don't see these things, it may be around licensing, and you can ask your IT department if you're at work. Okay. One other note, I'm going to be demonstrating during my demonstrations. I'm doing it in a demo tenant for anybody that's ever tested Microsoft products. You can get demo tenants that allow you. It's got fake data in it and fake people. So you're going to see me use profiles like Megan and others. Some of it some of what I'm talking about I can do very well, but to have a ToDo app open with multiple profiles can get a little sketchy sometimes, or even teams. So I'm going to try to demonstrate the majority of what we show today, but it's possible there's some things I just can't do, as well as mobile. I've still not mastered putting my mobile up on the screen yet. I'm going to reach out to a couple people that I saw using it already today, and hopefully I'll be able to do that next time. All right, there's a little bit of good and bad news, right? So the good news is Microsoft has a lot of tools where you can track tasks, right? Manage, prioritize, and they're probably apps you already own. Many of these tools now, because of this task ecosystem we're going to talk about, are integrated on the back end. So if you create a task in one spot, it will show up in multiple others, and especially in the task apps we're going to discuss today. So it makes it a lot easier, no matter where you're working, to be able to see those tasks in a centralized place. The interfaces for these, truly, they're not overly complicated at all. Even SharePoint Lists that we'll touch on briefly today. SharePoint Lists used to be less intuitive. Now that they have lists, which is SharePoint Lists, we'll talk about it in a minute, but even that's really easy to create what is essentially a table in a database with a pretty web front end. So the interfaces have gotten so much better over the years, and I think anybody can learn them. So don't feel like it's going to overwhelm you or these tools are too complicated. They should all be fairly straightforward. If you can if you have a smartphone, you can do this, okay? Mobile experience is awesome. I'm not one of those people that was a big mobile work on my device, but I have been converted, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the session. Now, here's the bad news. If you're expecting me to come forth and say, this is the one correct way to do this, you're going to be disappointed, unfortunately, because there's a lot of different ways to track tasks depending on where you work. So the way you ultimately are successful at this is you or your team, whoever you're building this process for, decides this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to follow a process, right? You're going to decide that, and then you actually commit to following that process, right? And down the road, as you're in the groove of it, you're finding some things that don't work, then you can adjust, right? But if you are great at writing things down, but then never putting things where you can find them later, it's not going to matter, right? Or if you're poor with follow through, if you're just not a proactive person, right? Like you see something come in, you go, geez, I could just write a task down right now, but I'll remember it. These tools don't solve for poor follow through, okay? Doing these processes over and over will build muscle memory, right? So as you do it more and you do it more, And Carrie who's out there was one of my coworkers in my previous job. She heard me, she's a big proponent of ToDo. And when it first came out, I couldn't get into the rhythm with it. But as these features that I used to use in Outlook tasks came over to ToDo, now I'm in that rhythm. And it really works for me. So we'll talk about that. Okay, I'm hoping, you know what? I don't think I shared my screen with audio. So I'm going to cut and then come back because I want you to see this. This is what Microsoft's vision for tasks is. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share again. And I'm going to add audio. There we go. Okay, so hopefully this is fluid. Let's see if this works. Let me know if you cannot hear the audio. So click. Oh, there we go. And this is a great website. The link is at the end of the presentation, so you can grab it then. But this is one of those Microsoft commercials that they've put out, and they usually see at things like Ignite about tasks, and this is how it's supposed to feel. And this always makes me feel good, but let's play it here.
Schedule a meeting, pick up groceries, assign a team, cross off more tasks in Microsoft 365. Stay on top of your day with access to tasks wherever you are. Say goodbye to searching for the things you have to do. Your tasks follow you through the apps you use most, so you always know exactly what you need to accomplish and won't miss any important deadlines. It's easy to manage your tasks or your teams, so you can take control of your workload, stay focused and productive, keep a team organized on any device. Since tasks are integrated in Microsoft 365, you can start using them today. Stay on top of your tasks with Microsoft 365.
There we go. So I love those things. Stop. Thank you. All right. I love them, but sometimes you sit there and go, okay, great. So where do I start? So that's what we're going to talk about today. First, let's talk about where work comes from, right? So it can come from many different directions nowadays, right? You get texts and chat and calls. People, you know, the funny thing to me is calling seems to be going less, but still there are many jobs that have calls coming in and you've got to capture something from those calls. Discussions, whether it be in the hallway, whether it be in Teams channel, email. Email is the bane of many people I know. One of my previous jobs I would get 250 email a day. Now, if my math serves me properly, in an 8-hour day, 250 emails, about 30 seconds to read each email and reply, on top of meetings, on top of actual work. So there's a whole class I took. It's called Take Back Your Life, where you don't operate an email. You try to go in a couple times a day and check it. But if you spend all your day just watching that inbox, you're going to set the precedent that you respond to email immediately. And when you don't, people are going to question what you're doing, right? So I've set a precedent in the last couple of years where I just check my email in the morning for 15 minutes, around lunch for 15 minutes, and at the end of the day. And in between, I'm doing work. So that's a big source of work for a lot of people. Meetings, you can be in meetings and people can say, hey, Jeff, can you go check up on this? Or can you send that information to the group, right? So you can get it verbally in a meeting. And old-fashioned inbox. Maybe you're at one of those places where somebody drops off an order form in a little box right in front of you and you got to pick it up and do something with it or convert it into a digital format or request. So those are all the sources where your work can come from. Now, historically, this has been managed many different ways, right? So good old paper and pen. And a lot of people really like that. And I was one of those people that was a Franklin planner freak. I wanted the great pen with the leather bound planner, and I would write my tasks down in my calendar, right? Before all these tools were really coming into their day, right? The challenge with that was, and any pad and paper, now if you're doing it in one spot, that's great, because then you have one source for where that's written down. But as days turn into months or weeks and months and years, right, you're going to have a lot of paper on your desk, especially if you have 20 tasks in a day and you complete 5. Now there's 15 to carry over. And if it keeps doing that, it becomes very hard and very cumbersome to be able to track all that stuff on a piece of paper. So we all kind of know that that's an old way to do it, although there are some people that really want to do it that way. And it's okay if you're consistent with it. It just may take a little bit more time. Post-it notes. There are people that live by Post-it notes. I think I tried it once when I was very young and hated it. And so I've never done it, but some people can be very functional with Post-it notes. Agile groups used to do it as Kanban boards on the wall. And some of them still do it that way. If it works for you and it's consistent, great. You can use Word documents. You can use spreadsheets. SharePoint list. I'll demonstrate a couple of these in a second. You can track tasks in a SharePoint list, otherwise now known as lists. Don't get me started on Microsoft's naming conventions. I'll get myself in trouble. Tasks in Outlook. I lived in tasks in Outlook for a long period of time because of the ability to sort them from all the different columns you can put into or metadata or fields you can put into a task. Now ToDo has gotten much better with that, so that's why I migrated. But still, it's a very valid place to track tasks. Independent mobile apps, right? If you've got, I don't know what they call Todoist or those other ones that are out there, great, if you're consistent with it. However, they're not connected to your work stuff, so you can't link it to, well, it shouldn't be for most people, right? So you can't link it to files or messages that are happening within your work or wherever. So those don't really work in the corporate environment. Microsoft Project. Okay, so we're not going to talk about Project here because it's a completely different level of task management. I reached out to the task team to see if there was any future integrations with Project so that the tasks there would end up in the task ecosystem. And the official word is there are discussions, but no plans released as of yet. That's all I'm going to say. But for those of you who never used Project, if ToDo and Planner are like the Honda Civic of task management vehicles, Project's like the space shuttle, right? It's about Gantt charts and dependencies and managing resources across multiple projects. It's very involved. It's fantastic for things like corporate mergers or headquarter relocation, something that requires a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of time, right? So, whoops. So just know we're not going to touch on Project here because that's for a project management, like a deep dive project management activity, not task management. But for lighter projects, for lighter things, for daily work, that's what we're going to hit on today. All right. So next, we're going to touch on Excel. I'm a big fan of Excel. I think Excel is one of the most underutilized tool Microsoft has ever created, and it's one of the most powerful. And the dashboards you can create with them, and there's a guy at our previous jobs. He might even be on the call. I didn't see yet, but some of his coworkers are. His name's Gary. Gary is an Excel master. And the things he used to be able to build within there that were not only visually appealing, but interactive, where you could change views right in Excel. Amazing. And again, if you love Excel and you're consistent about it, fantastic, then do it there. Microsoft Lists, AKA SharePoint lists that are modernized. Before modern SharePoint sites and Microsoft Lists, classic lists and document libraries in SharePoint were not visually dynamic. And what I mean by that is now modern SharePoint sites and Microsoft Lists are dynamic in the sense that they are aware of the screen that the user is looking through. So it can dynamically shift to fit the contents better, and you don't have to scroll sideways and up and down. So long story short about List is it is a very modern way to track content in a columns and rows format. Okay, and it's very pretty, and it's got some really cool formatting that it can do on the different columns and rows, but it's a table in a database with a pretty web front end. And you can create lists and track stuff in there and create very cool views from that. And I'm going to show you this really quick because I am a SharePoint freak. I'm just going to show you, I think it's under Megan here. I created a task list in Microsoft Lists and just started it out, right? And I have a task name, got a short description, start date, due date, owner, priority, and even % complete. All of this, I did not need to know how to code. I don't need to know how to do HTML. I created a Microsoft list and I just added columns, the type of columns named. So if I want to add a column, I can add all sorts of columns to track task information. Like if I have to be at a location, this will actually do it. It can bring an interactive map content. There's all sorts of cool things you can do. And the great thing about list, and you can even do this in Excel, is you can sort it in different ways. So maybe you want to sort it by priority. You can shift them around. You can group by something. So let's group by priority. Let's group by owner. The great thing about Excel and Microsoft Lists for tracking tasks is you can do these kind of views and sort through the data very easily. Okay, I love SharePoint. I could go on for days about it, but we're not going to because we want to make sure we cover the content. And where did my presentation go? Come on. I got to represent. Okay, there we go. So, switch. Top presenter view. Now I got to go way ahead. Sorry about that. I'll try not to do that in the future. So the problem with both of these is this. They are not currently connected to the task ecosystem we're going to talk about today. So let's get to it. So get past the list, and now we're going to get to the way to holistically manage tasks with the task ecosystem in Microsoft 365. We're going to cover the task apps, which the primary ones are ToDo and Planner. There are work hubs where you spend time either doing work, collaborating with people, finding files. That's the work hubs. We'll touch on each one of those. And then there's your endpoints, the stuff where you actually are doing work, like writing a Word document or preparing a PowerPoint presentation or taking notes in OneNote. Those are your endpoints, but all of them have the capability in the ecosystem to have a task created that will show back up in your task apps and in even the work hubs in certain views. So endpoints, Office products, work hubs are the places you spend your time or portals to get to your stuff, and then the actual task apps where you can see centralized views. Starting off with ToDo and Planner. Okay, here's the fun stuff. So ToDo is, in my opinion, a task app for individuals. It's for you to be able to manage your stuff. Now, I'm going to demonstrate in a minute that you can share task lists in ToDo, but you cannot create a task in ToDo and assign it to somebody. By default, it's assuming you're the person that's doing it. Now, so the great thing about it is it's a single pane of glass for all of your assigned tasks, even ones done in Planner, even flagged emails. So one of my favorite things to use on it is the My Day view. So every day I wake up, sit down, I have ToDo open, and then I will start looking through my tasks that were due either today or yesterday, and I'll show you how it's done. There's a suggestion window that appears, and I add things to my day. So it gives me a single pane of glass to the ones I want to make sure I accomplish today. And again, you can share those lists. Now, the true team task management tool is Planner. And for anybody that's done an agile project, or especially a development agile project using a Kanban board, this tool will seem very familiar to you because it's got what are these content-rich task cards that you can add a lot of information to and even have discussion in. So we're gonna jump to that in a second. And one of my favorite things about Planner is when you are doing a larger, not a project level Microsoft project, but a larger thing with multiple people involved. Not only can you track your tasks there and be able to arrange the board, the planner board, in many different ways, you can see progress, and there's charts and different ways to view the progress of the effort. So it's fantastic. Love these two tools. So we're gonna jump out. I'm gonna switch screens here, and I'm gonna go over to my Megan profile. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the ToDo app. Okay, I'm gonna close this for a second, just so you see. When you open the ToDo app, now this is in a browser, there is a desktop version. In fact, I think I have that open. Yes. So it looks like this. I have dark mode on my computer, so it's inheriting the dark mode. So it may look different for you, but the web and the desktop version are pretty much identical. There's some features within the desktop, like you can change the background of the My Day and other things, but for the most part, you're going to get the same functionality. So I want to create a task here, and I can start in My Day. If I wanted to make sure I got it done today, I can start in My Day. I am in the My Day view. There's multiple views you can choose. You can start with My Day. You can go to important if you've flagged something important, and you do that by using the little star here. Planned is a view of anything that you have put a date on, and it will show them to you in order of when they are coming up. So that's a very good view. That's one of the views I really needed that I used to get in, well, I still get in Outlook tasks, but now they've incorporated into ToDo. So now I can see what's coming up and what do I want to add to my day. Now let's say I wanted to add this to my day. I can right click on this and I could mark it as important. I could mark it complete. I could set the due dates. There's a whole bunch of actions I can do right here. I can remove the due date. I can move the task. I can copy the task. I can delete the task. All sorts of different functions you can do. But what I came in to do is to add it to my day. So I make sure I get it done today. I add it to my day. Now nothing changed except that you see this little icon saying it's on my day. If I go back to my day view, you now see that task is there. It didn't move it or anything. It just added the metadata tag that I wanted on my day, then it appears in this view. Okay. Let's come back to all tasks. So the tasks view is just tasks I've created in ToDo, and that I've not assigned to a list. And we'll talk about lists in a second. There are flagged emails. So if I have an email come in and I'm either in OA or in Outlook desktop, and let's go there. So let's, and it takes a little bit to refresh in my demo tenant, but let's see if we can do this. So right now, I had this come in yesterday, Bovee Kenobi. You're gonna see a whole bunch of pop culture references from me, Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter. So if you see a lot of references, you'll know where it's coming from. So, and I mix and mingle them. So I flagged this. Let's say I also want to make sure that I go check out the new beta project group. So I'm going to flag that. Okay, simple as that. You can do this in the Outlook desktop app or in OA. And OA is Outlook Web Access, Outlook in a browser. Okay, so let's go back to, now it's going to take a second to refresh, so let's give it a little bit of time, but flagged emails will show up here. Assigned to me. This is usually from tasks in Planner or other places, Outlook tasks, where somebody has assigned a task that was created to me. And you can see where they come from. All of these are from Planner plans, and you can see what group they were a part of, what team they were a part of and made in. So these mostly are in Planner, but they are assigned to me, so I can see those broken out. These are all great views. They never had this many views before. They probably doubled in the last 2 years. You can see all your completed tasks. That's really cool to do. Like if at the end of the month, or better yet, at the end of the year, if you wanted to be able to wrap up and say, what did I do this year? What are the big things I accomplished? You could see all the things you've completed throughout the year. So that's a great view. Now, all will bring in everything that's in the task ecosystem for you to see here. It'll show planner tasks. It'll show flagged emails. It'll show tasks that I've created in a list, which I'm going to show you in a second. So, and it puts them in grouping, but you can change the view if you want. You can change the sorting. Oh, I maybe can't do it in the browser app, but I can do it in the desktop app. So you can change the views of your tasks. In fact, let's jump over there for a second. I want to make sure that's true. Yes. So over here, you see this icon over here. I can do list options and I can sort by importance, due date, if it was added to my day, which I've already got the my day view, alphabetically, creation date, all sorts of different ways I can sort it in the desktop app. Now, again, I told you these interfaces, many of them are alike. There are some subtle differences between desktop apps, web versions, task integration with Outlook or with Teams. So they vary a little bit. All of it's going to become fairly uniform over time, right? So the features and functions change. It's going to happen the same way. So just be aware, if you can't find it in one place, it may be in another. Just play around. It's not going to hurt anything to play around and see what the different things do, right? All right, so those are all the views that you can create. Let's go back to the web. I just want to stay consistent here. Whoop, right here, sorry. Okay, now lists. Now this, again, Microsoft, I love you. Naming conventions bother me. List, this isn't a Microsoft list. This is a task list within ToDo. And what you can do is you can create a list. So let's say, along with all the work stuff I'm doing, I kind of want to track my grocery list that I have to pick up on the way home. So let's say I'm going to create a new list called groceries. Right? I'm going to hit enter. Now there's a list, right? Now I can create things in here and say I need apples and oranges, right? I can create a list like that, and I can put all sorts of information there. I can add it to my day. I can make it remind me, due date, all that other stuff. But the cool thing is if I'm somewhere else, pretend I'm just in tasks. Now you see how they don't show up? That's because those tasks are under the grocery list. You can see there's 2 I created. Now, if I'm over here, I just happen to be here, and somebody says, hey, Jeff, or my wife calls, and she says, Jeff, can you pick up some bread? I go, sure, hon, bread. And I create it. Now, it's not on my grocery list, but all I have to do is drag it over there, and now it is in my grocery list. Very intuitive, very easy to move around. It's not meant to be complicated. And again, in this view, in the desktop view, in the mobile view, it's very, very similar and easy to understand. So they make it this way. And if it doesn't make sense right away, just play. It'll eventually catch on. It's really not a complicated interface. So we went through all of this. Let's bounce over briefly to Planner. So this is Planner. Now, to create a plan, you can do it from here. And again, Planner are team-oriented task management interfaces, and it does it in a Kanban style, which if you're not used to, some people love it, some people hate it. The majority of people are good with it because it's very visual. So in here, I made a standard Kanban board. So let's say, I call it Project Beta, right? And we're building an app. So in here, I just started creating some tasks. And let me back up for a second and just go to creating a new plan. Let's say I want to create a new plan. I want to make one call for Project Delta. And is it public or private? I only want members to see it. I don't need it public for everybody in the company to see. And I can choose a group that it's in. So let's see, let's call it for the Mark 8. That's the group description. It's going to, you know what, now I got to think here, add to an existing Microsoft group. So if you want to add it to a group, and by the way, for those of you that aren't familiar, when you create a SharePoint team site, when you create a Microsoft Teams team, naming convention, Microsoft Teams team, it creates a Microsoft 365 group behind it. So when you add a plan to an existing Microsoft group, whatever it is, the people from that group, or team, however you want to talk about it, they will automatically get access to that plan. So if I know this project Delta is going to be for the HR team, and it's around the Ask HR app, I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to create the plan. It's going to create a brand new board for me, and it gives me basically a blank canvas of what these are called buckets, right? So right off the top, it creates a to-do bucket. Now, I could go into a lot of detail, but I know we're already at about 40 minutes around how to do this. There are many different thoughts, because if I'm just going to create a task here quick, test task 1. Now, in these task cards, there's tons of information you can track, right? So first thing you could do, unlike in a to-do task, you can assign this to other people and assign it to multiple people. So let's say I'm going to assign this to Alex Wilbur, and I'm going to throw Christy Klein in there. And those are the 2 people I want to assign it to. You can assign labels. Now, there's tons of colored labels, and this is used to also sort the way you see the data. So remember in SharePoint Lists, where we had columns that we could sort by, we could group by the creator or the owner, we could group by the due date. These labels also help you group by as well. So we're going to create a label. Let's see, this is for the HR app. So we're going to do this. We're going to have a category for knowledge base. So it's related to where the knowledge is stored that the HR app bot will go look for the data. So we're going to call it knowledge base. I'm making all this up. Let's try, and then we're going to do one for the interface. You know, and you can create all sorts of, but this one we're gonna mark as having the knowledge, and you can put things to multiple tags. Okay, so I did that. So right now it's in the to-do bucket. There are no other buckets. If I wanted to create one, I could create a bucket called knowledge base. It just depends. There's a limited amount of tasks or labels that you can put on something that you can create. And there's a limited amount of columns, but I think or buckets, but there's a lot more buckets you can create. The only challenge with creating, I'm going to come back to this, creating multiple buckets. So let's add a new bucket. We're going to call it design. We're going to call it coding. I'm making it up again. We're going to call it testing, UAT, user acceptance testing, right? And then production. So these are kind of the flow of the task. This is how you could use buckets, or you could have a whole bucket for the knowledge base, and one for the interface, and one for the functionality, right? Discussing the functionality. However you want to sort them out, these are just categories to be able to do that. Okay, so this test task, I'm going to say it's a knowledge base. This is about, this is more about the coding, because it's going to be pulling data. So we've got to make sure they're coding it to pull data from the right data source. Again, making this all up. If you're a developer out there, you're going, what the heck is he talking about? I'm making it up. I'm not a developer. Progress. 3 standard, right? So in progress or completed. Let's say this one's already in progress, and it's this one's, let's say this is pretty important. So we're going to put it as important. Start date, let's say we started it at the beginning of the month, and the due date is sometime next month, or June 1st. There we go. Okay. You can add descriptions in here, right? Identify the source data for the HR app. Okay, and I want to show this on the little card out on our planner plan. I'm just going to check that, and you'll see what that looks like in a second. I'm going to say start. I'm going to say find knowledge. Add knowledge. Publish. These are subtasks under the main task. So if there's multiple steps of a task, you can add them here. You can even show those on the card. Okay. Can't show everything. You can choose what you can show. So I want to show the notes. You can add attachments, and now we're good. There it is. Now you can see that task. Now the cool thing about it is you can take these things and pretend now it's done with coding and it needs to move into UAT for testing because they've already put the knowledge, the source of data into the code. You can move it over here, just like a Post-it note. So if you're a Post-it note fan, it feels just like Post-it notes. So you can move things around. So that's how you can create a planner plan and track tasks. Now I'm going to go back to that other example I had, which was under, where was that? Was it the project beta? Yeah. So I started creating some things here. And this was more of a developer thing too. I did a backlog, I did in progress, peer review, testing environment, deploy, right? The cool thing about this is, again, there's multiple views of tasks where you can sit there. This is the Kanban board. There are charts that will show you how many tasks are there? What's their status, right? What bucket are they in? What priority are they? Who's got them? Who's got them and how many do they have? Now, there's not a lot of data in here, but you can see in a visual overview of your project right here and be able to say, oh, geez, we've got an urgent thing that's not complete yet, right? So you can see those things in one view. You can see a schedule if things have dates on them. You can see them appear in a calendar view. So you can see how things are laying out. And you can drag things. So let's say I'm going to drag this one here and I want to have it to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to drag it here, I drop it down there. Now, let go. Come on, baby. Oh, it's going to freak out on me, isn't it? Let's see if I can, let's refresh. It's freezing. Please, machine, don't freeze. All right, we'll give it a second to think about it. Oh boy, my whole browser froze. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that.
Hey, Jeff, we've got a really good question in the chat. Can we
Sure,
schedule repetitive tasks?
Why my browser? If you have a repetitive, what about, I can't see the questions at the moment. What
Can you schedule repetitive tasks to show up on certain days? And so what Daniel said is important ones like getting coffee.
You can. Well, what you can do is you can create a task that, and it's going to take a while. Let's exit the page and we'll come back to it and see if that helps. See, I have way too many screens, way too many windows open. So there we go. Let's go back to, where can I go? Portal. Wow, my machine is coming to, it's hurting. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and see if we can continue there. Wow. That's too many windows. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can. I've got choppiness. Does anyone else?
Yeah, we're
Might be. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of choppy, Jeff.
What was that?
We're getting a lot of choppy responses from you, your audio and visual. Why don't you go off video?
Let me see if let's do that, yes. Let's see if I can. Come on. Presenting for a second, see if that helps.
Good one, Todd.
I asked it one too many things. So here, I'm going to turn off my video for the moment.
Okay.
My camera.
We actually got another great question in the chat. If you have a process like onboarding and offboarding, can you create a group of tasks that can be reused? Can you repurpose?
Yes, you can. So are we talking about a planner plan? Let's see if I can share my screen and make this work now. Let's see, go back to Megan. Give me a second to get the screen back up. Okay. There we go. I'll share my screen again. I apologize. Maybe this was going to be a possibility. Share. I don't need to share my audio, so let's just go with the screen. Okay. Tell me when you can see it.
We can see a bunch of zebras.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's try to go back to Planner. I'm going to go, by the way, to get to these apps, at least through the Office 365 portal, you go back here, you go to To-Do or Planner. I'm going to open that up and you can get to your projects from here. So let's go to Project Beta again. So if you want to create a recurring task, and I'm going to see if I can remember how to do this. So you can copy a task, right? So you could have it sitting here. So the question was about a reoccurring task here, right? You can also templatize an entire plan, right? So you can reuse and copy plans. So if you have a base onboarding planner plan, you can create new off of that. And let me see how I can remember how to do that. Let's go back to the Planner Hub. See, so you can copy a plan. So if you had what you called a onboarding plan template, when you're going to do a new one, you hit copy, you rename it to, you know, May onboarding, and then you can work that just, and it'll have all the tasks. So if you create a base with all the columns and everything the way you like it, make that your template, and then you can copy it when you're ready to use it. That answer the question? You can come off mute.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
You bet. Great question. And the other one was about reoccurring tasks. Now, if it's for coffee, I would expect that that's on your calendar every day. But I think you can do the same things with tasks, right? So you can copy tasks, right? If you want to make sure that you have it, you could make it a reoccurring task. I think you can you? Yes, you can repeat the task, right? So make it happen daily, and then that coffee will be there every day. Multiple ways to do it. Again, it should be intuitive, just like when you're in a Word document or an email, when you right click, you get certain menu options. Those same menu options are up top. So you should be able to create repetitive tasks in both Planner and tasks. All right, I'm doing a time check here. So we're at about 44 minutes or 42 minutes. Is that right? Okay, so these are your hubs. These two places are your hubs for task management. Now, to be clear, your to-do tasks, your flagged emails and stuff will not show up in Planner. Planner is specifically for tasks for teams to collaborate on together. And the cool part about it though is you can go to and hold on for a second, I'll get rid of this. So the views you can get here are different than Planner. And again, I didn't even touch on these. You can sit here instead of grouping by bucket, you can group by assigned to. That's the great thing. Almost every field you put in one of these in a Planner plan, you can group by. So like the SharePoint list, I want to create a view that helps me see the work in a different way so that I can find my stuff or the stuff due this week or the stuff that's most important. It's very intuitive, at least from my perspective. So how about progress? I want to say things by progress, not started, in progress, complete. I want to see it by the labels. Those labels we created, now those are essentially in the same view as a bucket, right? So it's a great way, similar to a SharePoint list, similar to an Excel spreadsheet, how you can sort it up. You can sort the data differently to see it. But again, it's all hooked up to the back ecosystem. And that's what we're going to get to now. So if you have other questions about one to-do and Planner, we can come back, but I'm going to try to get back to the presentation so we can cover some of the other stuff. All right, let's see if we can bring this back up. Switch again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay, so we went through that. Now we're going to get to the work hubs. We're going to touch on the Outlook desktop in a second, and I think I mentioned it before, but when it comes to creating tasks from email, OA, Outlook Web Access, browser-based version of Outlook, is significantly better because there's more ways to do it, and I'll show you in a second. So primarily, I use the Outlook desktop app. So the primary way I add emails is by flagging emails. But the OA interface lets you drag emails over to the side where you can open up the to-do frame, the pane over there on the right. You can see it in the animation there. You can highlight part of a message. Now, this is depending on where you are in the release cycle, this may or may not be available to you yet, but it's coming. But you can highlight part of a email, and then a little menu appears on the top, and I know it's hard to see, but it creates a task from that text you highlighted. So there's 3 different ways to do it with an OA, and you can even do it from the mobile app. In the mobile app, you open an email in Outlook, in the upper right-hand corner, the 3 ellipses, you click on that. At the very bottom, there is an option to create a to-do from that. Okay? So that's how you can do it, and I'll demonstrate it in a second. Between the two, between Outlook and the desktop. Well, I can't do the desktop app because it would show you my work email, but 2 things about it. One, the primary way to get a task from an email is to flag it, because that will show up in your to-do flagged email, right? The other way to do it now, with the updates to Outlook, on the left side, there is a to-do app now that you can click on, and what it basically does is it brings the to-do web interface into Outlook. So if you are a heavy Outlook user, you get a lot of your work and a lot of your communications and everything by email. Maybe your company doesn't have Teams yet, which I hope you do soon because it's significantly better. But that's the way you don't have to leave that single pane of glass. I'm in Outlook, I'm checking my email, I got to check my task quick. I can click on that to do. It brings that up. I can work there and pop back to my email or my calendar or whatever else I'm working in. Okay. Very cool function. So before we go to Teams, we're gonna go and show you. Hello, come on. Oh, you're killing me. There we go. Okay. So here's OA, right? I'm in Outlook Web Access, and let's say, so I flagged this Bovee One Kenobi yesterday, right? And it showed up. I'm gonna unflag that. Which, by the way, if you click it, the first time it flags it, the second time checks it as done. If you click it a third time, it'll go back and forth. If you want to just remove the flag, right-click it, clear the flag. Now, over here, I should zoom in. Do that? Yeah. Up here in the corner, you can see there's a calendar/to-do function that brings up a pane on the right side. Click on that. It defaults to whatever you last did. I have it defaulting to the to-do, right? So here is my tasks. Now there's a filter here because I may want to see all my tasks, my day, flagged emails, the alpha project. So let's say this is it's alpha team link, right? So this is related to the alpha project. What I can do is leave the view here, and I could drag this email over here as a task. Now it's an alpha project list task to make sure that I follow up on this. So that's one way to do it, right? Pretend I didn't want the whole email, because when I click on this now, if I go into this from my tasks, it'll, from my to-do app, it'll have a link to the email, then you got to open up an email. Maybe I just want to take the content right out of the email and make it a task. So I don't want this as a task over here. I'm going to delete it. I just want to say, resend the alpha link, the alpha team project channel link. So as soon as I highlight that, see what pops up? I hit to do, it creates the to do, and I can go in here and say, resend Bovee One the link to the alpha team project. There you go. I've got the task. So you can flag it, you can drag it, or you can highlight the words and add it to a task. Very, very easy to do. Okay. let's go back.
Hey, Jeff, we're getting some good questions in the chat again.
Please.
Sorry. Can you make a task and planner from an email?
From an email. Okay, now I gotta remember. I think there's a way. I believe you can send it. I may even ping my buddy Carrie Cochran out in the audience if she knows. I don't think I've ever done it. Carrie, do you know by chance?
Nope, we can't do it yet. You have to use something, you have to use like a flow to make something like that happen at this point.
Beautiful. Carrie, thank you very much. Glad you're here. So you can use something like Power
We have one
Automate.
more.
Well, hold on a second. So on
Okay.
that topic, you can have an email that you leverage Power Automate, which is a workflow tool to add things to a project plan. So I believe there are templates. That's probably where I saw them. There's probably templatized flows to do such a thing. If we have time at the end, I'll see if I can find one. Okay. Good question. Other question.
Will the highlighted text option be available in the desktop app in the future?
I don't know. My gut would say probably. Because again, they're trying to unify it across all platforms, across all interfaces. The desktop, just some things can be done quicker than others. So they're testing it in OA. It probably will end up, I can't say for sure. I don't know. I haven't seen it. A great place to check, if you go out to, in fact, let's see if I can do it right now. If I go out here and I search for Microsoft Planner, or let's see, Outlook roadmap. And you go here. This is public information. It tells you when things are going to be released. You can search for keywords and you can search by product. So you could go search for Microsoft, where's Outlook? There's Outlook. You could select Outlook and say, look for things like highlight and task, and see if anything's out there. Now, those might not be the right keywords, but if you want to see if something's coming that's not currently there, the Microsoft 365 roadmap is the best place to check. Any other questions, Teresa?
The highlighted text, did we talk about that one?
That's the one we just talked about. Is that?
That's what I thought, but I wanted to double check. You're good to go.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get back to the slides again. Let me get rid of this because I keep having this pop up. And I'm going to, so see, you keep doing this. There we go. So Teams. This is where hopefully a lot of you are already working. This is the place where your work comes together. A lot of people think it's just a meeting platform or a chat platform. It is a platform. It is a place where all of your work can come together in a single pane of glass. Now, I could sit here and preach about Teams all day long, but we're not gonna. We're gonna talk about how tasks can integrate with Teams. So the ToDo app, tasks, there's one called Tasks for Planner and ToDo. We'll talk about that in a second, but it can bring all those tasks into the pane, just like Outlook had that ToDo on the side. It can bring the view into Teams so you don't have to leave Teams if that's where you work. Okay, so let me see, what's the next slide? Now let's just go through this quickly, then we'll jump back over. So creating a task from a message. So in the corner of any chat window, in the corner of any discussion window, you can go and click on the three ellipses in the corner, and it will give you an option. Let's go. Can you refresh this? Can I refresh it? Well, it'll come back around anyway. So it will bring up a task window. One of the menu out here. Here it goes. Ready? Oh, it's going to show. Hold on. Come on. Here we go. So you go to the right to the three ellipses, more actions, create task. Opens up a task window. So somebody in a chat, somebody in a discussion says, hey, can you send me that file once you have it later on, right when you're completed with it? You can highlight that, or you can select that chat. It adds it to a task. Again, you can modify the title of the task in case it's too long, right? You just want to grab the action itself, put a due date and everything on it, and create the task right then and there. Okay. Very cool interface. Oh, no, we're not going to Windows yet. So let's go back out. Let's go Megan again, and we're going to go to, oh, I don't have it open. Hold on one second. Let's open Megan's Teams. Now, this isn't actually the Teams desktop app, but it's close. It's going to look like it. Okay, so let's go look at chat, and Bovee sent something, and I'm going to say maybe I need an action out of this. I'm going to say, as ridiculous as it sounds, I'm going to make sure I have a task to wish Bovee a happy Friday as well. I click here, more actions, create task. Right there, it pops up a window and says, so it says everything I said, say, wish Bovee happy Friday. Right, and do that, create it in tasks and make it important to do later today, right? Perfect, and it even links back to that. You add the task, now it's in my task, and Megan task list, she can remember to do that before the end of the day. If you're in a Teams discussion, let's go back to, let's see this here, posts, here we go. I want to make sure I go look at the updated data model from Pradeep. Go here, more actions. Same thing, creating a task, right? So that's how you can create them within the context of your work. But then on the right, you can pin an app called Tasks by Planner and ToDo. Now again, we're not going to talk about the naming conventions Microsoft uses because I could go on and we'd all need drinks. But this is a similar view. Now the difference between this one is this will bring in views that look like Planner and look like ToDo. So right now I am in, I can see stuff assigned to me. I can see my tasks. I can see my lists, right? And if they are, so the assigned to me stuff, I can see what's the source, what the different tags are, right? The due dates and everything else that I can see a lot of in Planner, but it brings it in here so that I can see all those tasks. And again, now the one thing you'll notice here, this doesn't have the all view, right? Again, eventually these are all going to have similar features and functions. Right now, the all view isn't here, but you can see the majority of your tasks right here, and you can go to your different task list in order to complete them from the Teams window. Okay, how much time we got left? We're almost done. Got about 7 minutes left. Any questions, Teresa, that I'm missing about Teams?
No, Michelle piped in about, are there plans for tasks in PowerPoint, Word, etc., to actually create tasks instead of just sending an email?
Great question. That's the next part of the slide. Let's go to it. Bottom of the slide deck. Let's bring that up.
Cool.
Yeah, let's go back. Swap. Okay. Briefly, in Windows 11, the widget window that can pop up, the pane, right? That can add to-do tasks to it now. I've got it working on mine, so another place I can see my tasks for the day, right? So I can see the weather, I can see my calendar. That's another widget that can happen in the Windows widget window, window pane, let's do it that way. So another place to see your tasks quickly and easily if you need to. The Office portal. I think this one's going to evolve a lot over the next several months to a year. But right now, there's a couple different ways you can see your tasks, right? There's that pane over to the side, same thing. Calendar and to-do up at the top, you can click on it. It brings up that pane. You can see your stuff there the same way you could in Outlook, right? It also, if you see a document or something, because you know that surfaces content that you've been working on recently or something somebody shared with you recently, if you right click on a file, you say, oh, geez, I better look at that water utility management practices document soon. You can right click on it, go down to add to do. It will add that with a link to the document to your to-do list. All right. Now the endpoints to the question, right? This is going to be, this is ever evolving as well. Right now, when you mention somebody in comments, so you're collaborating on a document, you shared a document within a Teams document library or within a chat, and it went to the document library behind. Everybody hopefully knows that SharePoint's behind Teams. And you're in that Word document or the PowerPoint or the Excel, and you're adding comments, and you're going, hey, like Frank did here. Frank mentioned Greta. And by doing that, Greta will get an email going, hey, somebody had mentioned you in this task, and it'll link to it. It'll take you into the document to this comment. And you can go in there, and if it was something for you to do currently, you go in there and say, yep, I did this and I completed it. Now, end game on this is actually like this. In a document, same way you could in OA, you can highlight it, create a task, and now look at the bottom. I know it's hard to see, but there was a little button to add it to a task, and you can do it to a planner plan. Now, again, this isn't even available from what I do in Microsoft. I can't do this yet, but it's coming. All right, so they're making it easier and easier from where you work, whatever you're doing, to be able to add a task that shows up in that task ecosystem. Hopefully that answered your question. Coming soon. Another thing you can see on the roadmap if you go out there and look. Now, OneNote. Carrie, our favorite topic, right? There are two main ways to create tasks in OneNote. The historical way was to use the to-do tag. Important note, this is not a task to do. This was a tag system within OneNote. And you can see it happening over here where you can then bring up tags and see all your to-do tags, but they are not the same thing as the task ecosystem. Okay? Tags are different than actual tasks. Now, if you want to know more about this, we can do it in the Q&A section. But my way of doing tasks in Outlook is currently to do an Outlook task, which you can see down below. So up in the active GIF that's playing, right next to where it says Find Tags, there's Outlook tasks. If you choose that drop-down option, you can mark it to task for a literal task for today, tomorrow, this week, custom. And when a custom comes up, you get the window, you create the task, you type all the stuff you want in. You can even assign those because those are Outlook tasks, but they are still in the ecosystem. So they will show up in the to-do, they will show up in Outlook tasks, right? So you'll see it in majority of places, but that's the way I recommend people do tasks in OneNote currently. Now, again, I think OneNote is going through a revolution at the moment. And I think there's going to be a lot of feature changes that are coming. What you're seeing here is the OneNote desktop app. Not the Windows 10 version, because the Windows 10 version, to me, still is light on some features. It's got some great new features, and it can do some things that the desktop app can't. But again, all this stuff is merging and evolving, and eventually the whole ecosystem, it'll work with the ecosystem. Currently, best way to do it, to me, is to make sure the task ends up in the ecosystem by using the Outlook task function in OneNote. All right, then last but not least, then we're going to go to questions. The mobile apps, love them. I love them. And for those of you, I was never a big fan. I said this earlier. I'm never a big fan of having work tools on my personal device. But there's so much technology that's changed in the last few years that now I love it. And the first biggest reason I did it and use it now is the improved capability of Microsoft to separate, right? The Intune app to separate your work stuff from your personal stuff. There's a whole separate management section that it can do with Intune, and you'll know which one is your Outlook for work because there'll be a little lock on it if you're securing it properly, right? So, and instead of giving away my personal number, I can let people call me through Teams. Love it. Whole separate topic, but that's one of the reasons I love the mobile app. But the second reason is about the ability to check my calendar, to check my tasks like this. I don't have to boot up. I don't have to log in. I don't have to open up the apps. I can see in seconds what's going on tomorrow, what's the task I got scheduled, and I can see it right there. And there's even widgets on my Android. I swipe once to the right, it's got my calendar for work tomorrow and then my to-do list on the bottom, both widgets. Right open so I can see them anytime I want. Fantastic for when I'm panicking and go, oh shoot, when's that meeting? I can check it in seconds. I don't want to sound like a commercial, but I love the mobile experience Microsoft offers now. So I highly recommend you check it out if you have that available too, because it makes it so much easier to be able to work when you need to, not to work more. Work when and where, right? That's the key. Okay. On the horizon, not going to go into any details here, but if you attended Daryl's fantastic session just before this, you know about Loop. Loop's going to change a lot of the ways we share data, but in a very intuitive way. And that evolution has just started, and it's just going to get better and better. So Loop's integration with tasks is coming. AI-based task suggestions. I already get these through a thing called Viva Insights. I get an email that says, hey, Jeff, here's what happened today, and this looks like a task for you out of this email. It's phenomenal. So if I missed something going through an email, I get a reminder at the end of the day going, hey, Jeff, you got block time for focus tomorrow. We can talk about Viva Insights at another time. But the AI tells me and gives me hints about, hey, this might be a good task, right? And then tasks and meeting notes. Again, part of the evolution of OneNote and being able to integrate with a meeting minutes, and it's going to integrate with Loop as well. It's all coming. I don't want to go into detail about it now, but you will see it coming if you stay on top of Microsoft's announcements. Okay. This deck will be available. Key links for you, a lot of aka.ms links, right? /tasks, that's a great one. Office.com/roadmap. And then if you want to see more information about ToDo or Planner or the other apps, it's aka.ms /Microsoft ToDo, Planner, whatever app you want. And if there's tech communities you want to see what's being discussed out there, you can go to the techcommunities.microsoft.com. There's all sorts of different products you can choose from to see what's going on and what's being talked about. Great resources for you to learn more. And I think that's it. What time are we at? Woo! I went an hour and 15 minutes. Is that about right? 75 minutes?
Yes. What questions we have, guys? You guys have been asking a lot of great questions.
All right, I'm going to not share my screen anymore, and I'm going to go over to the meeting. Come on, stop presenting. There we go. All right, questions. Michelle, also exporting to export. Oh, thank you, Michelle, for doing that.
Yeah, Michelle bopped in and kind of helped answer some questions, as did Carrie.
I love Michelle. Michelle is fantastic. For those of you who don't know Michelle Gilbert, she is one of the most amazing presenters, speakers around Microsoft. I've worked with her now at 2 different companies. Fantastic person. All of the Microsoft people involved here today are Microsoft fanatics, whether they be MVPs, they're part of the Minnesota user group. They're all fantastic people. We're all here to help, so don't hesitate to reach out. Michelle's a golden example of one of those people. And Teresa, helping out with this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? Looking through here. Is there a way to export? Yep, okay, we've got that. Any other questions? You can come off mute. Any other questions that weren't answered either in the chat or by me during the presentation? You can come off mute.
So Donna asked about, are there any strategies to helping people adopt?
Oh, that's an excellent question. In my experience, one of the best ways to help a group or an entire company adopt such practices is, this is how I would do it, right? Many companies especially large companies that are rolling this kind of stuff out, these tools, they have a champions program, or at least they have technology enthusiasts, right? That are forward thinking, using the tools ahead of time, can't wait to see the next feature. They are the people you want to get to try this stuff and then have a success story, right? So internally having somebody who's done it and they changed the way their team functioned, and then sharing that story. Then it gets people going, oh, really? And those champions doing it verbally as well. Not just, I mean, if you're trying to drive adoption and change management for the stuff at a company, you probably have a place, a SharePoint site or whatever it may be, or even a Yammer community or a team, a corporate-wide team, an all org team, where you can share those success stories, right? As a post. That's a great way to do it. Training, right? Offering training on a regular basis and showing them how to do this. Hopefully today you saw my enthusiasm for this and how it's really changed the way I work. Because I'll be candid with you, I'm getting older. In my memory, I call it Post-it note syndrome. No offense to anybody that likes Post-it notes, but during the day, stuff comes at me and it gets onto a Post-it note and I stick it on me. And unless I truly really write it down or put it into a thing, those Post-it notes over the day will start to fall off. And if I had 200 on me during the course of the day, I remember about 8 of them. So having a quick way, I always have my ToDo app off to the side, pinned to the side of one of my screens. And if somebody comes and tells me, hey, can you get this for me later? Or can you find this out? I will immediately go over to that side of the screen, type the thing and enter it in and it'll show up. I have my day view up so it hits my day. But that's how I do it. I used to have a pen and paper. Now I have ToDo pinned to the side. You tell those stories and tell how it changed the way you work. And that's how it expands and drives adoption. Hopefully that helped.
It does. So Randy posted, I understand there is some functional differences between Team Planner, ToDo, and Office.com. Can you elaborate on them?
Yeah, I mean, so I could show you them. And again, everyone has a little bit of a different view. Some of them are very, very close, like the Teams or the ToDo web app and the Team desktop app, pretty darn close, right? They're 99% or 95% identical. But there are things like the ToDo, the task in Planner and ToDo app on the side of Teams, a bit different. Here's my recommendation to you, and this is how I work, so you can figure out what works best for you. But for tasks in the method we talked about today, I highly recommend having the ToDo desktop app, because the ToDo desktop app has the most views, the most flexible views, excuse me, and it brings in flagged emails and planner plan and everything that you create in the ecosystem into one spot. So I have it open all the time, and that's the view I use. If I'm in Teams and doing stuff and I just need to look quickly at one of my task lists that I created, I can see those within Teams. I don't have to jump out to the app. But if I always have the app open, I don't even know why I would go to another spot, right? But if you don't want to have the desktop app and you want to use one, I recommend the browser-based version for doing tasks across all platforms. Just remember this, Planner will not show you tasks in ToDo, but ToDo will show you tasks from Planner. Does that help? You can come off mute. Thanks, Randy. Any other questions?
Brian had a question. Will there be any type of versioning in the future?
Versioning in the sense of tracking versions of a task.
Yeah, or at least a recycle bin. He wrote down, right now, unless something has changed, if someone deletes a column of a task, there's no option for providing a recovery.
Oh, for a planner plan. Yeah, any of my Microsoft friends that know, I don't believe there's a way to recover a delete. I don't think there's a recycle bin for Planner. If anybody knows, speak up. But just like the flexibility you get with these tools can also be a detriment, right? you want to count on people not being too flippant when they're moving through a shared interface, right? Because it's a very good thing. It's a very good idea. I recommend that that down in the bottom of most of your apps, there's a little smiley face, or it might be up in the menu. You can suggest ideas to Microsoft. That would be an excellent one, right? How do you undo like a massive deletion that somebody did in a planner plan? That's a fantastic conundrum, and I think it should be solved at some point. I don't believe there's one at this point. Another great question.
Okay.
Any others? We got time? Close? All right. I greatly appreciate everybody attending, and hopefully this was useful. I talk a million miles an hour, and again, I think I said this earlier, I had 3 cups of coffee, so I'm all jacked. And was nervous, but hopefully this was useful. So thank you for coming, and have a great rest of your Friday and a weekend.
Okay, I have one quick thing. Thank
Sure.
you very much. You managed to give me homework.
Did you put it in your to-do list?
Yes, I have to do a to-do list because I'm actually hiring a bunch of people, and the onboarding process is something that typically one person is easy for me, but I have got like 3 or 4 coming on. So I'm going to make my life easier. Next, it's time for me to announce the winner. There were so many of you that asked great questions. Thank you. Margaret O'Neill, you are the winner of the $25 gift card. Margaret, can you drop me your email address so I can make sure we don't have any issues? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And we are good to go. I hope everybody continues listening to all our sessions.